Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Well today guys, I'm gonna do part 10 to my Google Gemini chatbot series. I don't know what it is with my luck, but today we have not had any luck with the chatbots, except for the final round I did on ChatGPT. So far, not even Google Gemini is working out the way I need it to. Which is annoying because every other chatbot has worked out just fine until I wanted something to give me an actual good story about a Totodile. I did change up a little bit and told it where instead of him being aggressive, I said aggressive or as nice so it can make it whatever it wants. And it worked kind of well, but it also reused the name Finley. The name Finley has shown up again. So, but it seems like it's a little bit different this time. It says Finley was not your average Totodile. Born in the warm, brackish waters of the Azalea Town Slowpoke well, his early life was marked by an unusual solitude. While his siblings reveled in playful nips and sunbathing, Finley was often found exploring the deeper, darker tunnels of the well, his small, sharp teeth testing every crevice. His mother, a wise Feralier with scars from countless battles, recognized a spark of something different in him, a keen intellect coupled with an innate, almost feral cunning. She spent hours teaching him not just how to hunt, but how to observe, how to strategize, and most importantly, how to adapt. One fateful season, a particularly harsh drought affected Johto. The Slowpoke's well's water levels dropped precariously low, forcing many of its inhabitants to seek new homes. It was during this perilous journey through the sun-baked lands that Finley's true nature began to forge itself. He witnessed the cruelty of the wild firsthand, the relentless struggle for survival, and the cold indifference of nature. He learned to outsmart flocks of hungry Pidgeot, to navigate treacherous ravines, and even to invade the cunning tracks of a human poacher, often by using his surprising agility and the element of surprise. He became a master of guerrilla tactics, a shadow in the reeds, a glimpse in the murky depths. His travels eventually led him to the sprawling ancient forest of bordering Ecruteak City. Here he stumbled upon a abandoned shrine, overgrown with moss and forgotten by time. Within its crumbling walls, he discovered a collection of archaic text, remarkably preserved. A curiosity, a trait his mother had always encouraged, compelled him to investigate. To the astonishment of any who might have witnessed it, Finley, through sheer force of will and a natural aptitude for patterns, began to decipher the human language. It was a slow, arduous process, but over many years, as his body grew stronger and his scales hardened, so too did his understanding. He absorbed the stories, the philosophies, and the warnings contained within those ancient writings, gaining an unparalleled perspective on both the Pokemon and human worlds. He learned of history, of trainers, of the delicate balance between coexistence and conflict. What in the world? Okay, this seems to be working a little bit better. Let's see. This unique upbringing imbued Finley with a complex personality. He was fiercely independent, quick to anger if provoked, and possessed an intimidating glare that could make even a fully evolved Pokemon hesitate. His trust was not easily earned, a direct result of the harsh lessons the wild had taught him. Yet, beneath the layers of aggression and self-resilience, there was a profound depth of understanding and a longing for connection, albeit one he rarely indulged. He valued strength, both physical and intellectual. I can't even speak that word, and had a surprising respect for those who could demonstrate genuine courage and integrity. He spoke with a rich, gravelly voice, a stark contrast to the usual chattering of his species, each word carefully chosen, often laced with a dry wit. He had made the shrine his sanctuary, a quiet retreat where he could ponder the intricacies of the world. He was a sentinel of the forgotten, a guardian of the wild secrets. Many have tried to capture him, drawn by tales of a powerful, unusually intelligent Totodile, but all had failed, outwitted and outmaneuvered by his sharp mind and formidable battle prowess. One crisp autumn morning, the sun dappled through the canopy. Finley was perched on a moss-covered stone, observing a particularly vibrant butterfree fitting between ancient trees. His gaze was sharp, contemplative. He heard the rustle of leaves, a different sound than the usual forest denizens. A human approaching a sanctuary. He didn't move, merely tracking the presence. His emerald eyes narrowed. He waited, his powerful jaws ready, his mind already formulating a dozen escape or engagement strategies. Well, well, Finley rumbled, his voice startlingly clear in the silent forest as the figure stepped into a clearing. Look what the forest dragged in. Another curious bipedal, I presume? Oh dear, this could be bad or good. Alright guys, I just said, or I didn't see the Totodile, but definitely heard the voice and stopped dead in my tracks. Who said that? Finley let a low chuckle, a sound like gravel shifting in a stream bed. He slowly uncoiled from the top of the mossy stone, his powerful tail sweeping aside a patch of ferns as he dropped silently to the ground. Similar eyes, sharp and full of intelligence. Yeah, met yours from behind the tall reeds where he had been camouflaged. Oh no. Who said that? He repeated, a hint of dry amusement in his tone. The more important question, I think, is who is asking. I've been a solitary resident here for quite some time, and you're the first to stumble upon my home in a while who didn't come looking for a fight. Are you lost, or simply curious? Oh my gosh. Give me a second. Alright guys. Here's what happened. I just see the Totodile on the ground and behind the reeds, and I say, Totodile, hi, this is your home? I'm sorry, I didn't know. Please don't attack me. I didn't come here to hurt anything, I promise. Finley remained still, his powerful frame hidden mostly by the reeds, but his head was now clearly visible. He tilted it slightly, observing you with a gaze that seemed to weigh every one of your words. The aggression you'd likely expected wasn't there. Instead, there was a contemplative silence and a moment of assessment. Totodile, yes, he said, his voice softer now, less of a challenge and more of a statement of fact. This is a place I've claimed as my own. And you promise you don't come to hurt anything? Promise they're as fragile as glass. But I suppose they are a start. He took another slow, deliberate step out of the reeds, revealing the full extent of his impressive, battle-hardened body. His scales were a deeper, more vibrant blue than most of his species, and a few faint scars were visible near his jawline. I am not in the habit of attacking those who pose no threat, however. You are on my land, but you are not yet an enemy. Tell me, what is your name? Oh dear. Give me a second, guys. Alright, guys. I just told my name and then said, what about you? Do you have a nickname? Finley, he replied, his gaze unwavering. Finley is my name. Find a nickname unnecessary. It's a waste of a perfectly good word. He paused for a moment, his head tilted to the side as if he seemed to contemplate something. You speak in names as if they're something simple, he continued, his voice a low rumble. But a name is more than just a sound. It's a story. It's what you were and what you are. It's a part of your identity that can never be taken away, not even in the deepest parts of the sea. Okay, this is turned. Give me a second, guys. Alright, guys. I just said, Finley. That's a nice name. It's nice to meet you. The only reason I asked for your name is because I wanted to see if you went by a particular name and not just your species name. That way I knew what to call you properly. Finley seemed to consider your words, his head held high. He took a slow step closer, his tail swishing gently behind him, but he still maintained a respectful distance. A species name is for the masses, he rumbled. It's a label, not a story. A proper name. That shows you to see the individual, not just the species. It's a sign of respect. He nodded slowly, a gesture that held a surprising amount of gravitas. Never heard that word before. It's a pleasure to meet you as well, Trenton. Not all humans understand the difference. He paused, his gaze seeming to look beyond you into the trees. So, you stumbled upon my home. Are you on a journey? Or are you simply a wanderer? Give me a second, guys. Alright, guys. I said, well, I'm a porn trainer, but not in the way you would think. I don't capture porn just to use as tools. I get the porn I care about and then take care of them, but I'm not going to capture anything. I was getting some fresh air and exercise and just walked in here. Finley's expression remained unreadable, but a faint, almost imperceptible shift in his posture suggested a slight relaxation. His large head lowered slightly, his eyes still fixated on you. A trainer who doesn't capture, he mused, the words a low rhythmic hum. An unusual concept. Most humans I've encountered see us as a means to an end, a weapon to be wielded. They speak of friendship, but their actions tell a different story. He took another slow step forward, now fully out of the reeds, his muscular form a formidable presence. It's refreshing, I suppose, to hear such a thing spoken aloud. But the forest is a dangerous place, even for one such as yourself. A lone trainer with no porn at your side is a vulnerable thing. Are you certain you do not require a partner, even for protection? Give me a second, guys. Alright, guys. I said I have sweet porn with me. I'm not alone per se, they're just not out right now. Finley's expression shifted, a flicker of what might have been curiosity crossing his face. He gestured with his hand toward the satchel at your side. Sweet Pokemon? He questioned, skepticism evident in his tone. I've met porn that are kind, but sweet is an odd description. Are they weak, or simply naive? He took a few more deliberate steps, circling you with a silent grace. The world does not reward naivety, Trenton. A sweet Pokemon's a target. You're responsible for their safety. You think your compassion's enough to shield them from the dangers of the forest? From a hungry Ursaring, or a cunning Gengar lurking in the shadows? Or from a trainer who sees them not as friends, but as stepping stones to victory? His voice dropped, becoming a low, serious rumble. Your philosophy is noble, but the world is not. Oh my gosh, what in the world? Give me a moment. Alright, guys. I said they're very kind-hearted towards me and extremely strong. That's why I said sweet. Finley stopped his slow circle, his head tilting back as he let out a low, almost dismissive grunt. He settled down to his haunches, his gaze still fixated on you, the sharp intellect in his eyes unblinking. Ah, a different kind of strength then, he said, his voice a gravelly monotone. Strength is not always a measure of how hard you can bite or how loud you can roar. It's also found in loyalty, in compassion, and the bonds that are forged in fire and not just with fists. He exhaled softly, a puff of air that rustled the fallen leaves at your feet. Your philosophy, as unusual as it is, has a certain merit. It's the bond between a Pokemon and its trainer that determines their true power. Not a cage, but a partnership. If your Pokemon are truly as you say, then perhaps you are a stronger trainer than your apparent lack of a companion would suggest. He looked away, his gaze turning toward the dense forest surrounding his sanctuary. The shift was subtle but significant. The interrogation seemed to be over, replaced by a sense of calm acceptance. The world is still a dangerous place, though, he added, his voice now quiet warning. And while your sweet porn may be strong, it must also be clever. Fight's not always about brute force. It's about outsmarting your opponent. It's about knowing when to attack and when to retreat and when to be still. He looked back at you, his emerald eyes holding a newfound thoughtfulness. What are their names? These partners of yours? Give me a second, guys. Alright, guys. I said, if I was to name them all, we would be here all day. But I have a Fragger named Spike and a Lugia named Silverwing, for example. There's very kind-hearted towards me, but also really, really strong. What in the world was that? Finley's expression remained unreadable, but you could almost feel the weight of his surprise. He was still utterly so, as if the very air had been sucked out of his world. His emerald eyes, which had held such sharp intelligence just moments before, were now wild with a flicker of something you couldn't quite place. A mixture of disbelief, respect, and a hint of awe. A fur alligator named Spike? And a Lugia? He rumbled. Oh my gosh. He rumbled, the words almost a whisper in the silent clearing. A Lugia, the guardian of the seas. And you have it as a companion, not a tool, a partner? He shifted on his haunches, his gaze unwavering. He'd spent his life honing his perception, his instincts, learning to read the subtle nonsense of every creature and every situation. He'd heard countless boasts from trainers, seen their bravado dissolve in the face of true power, but there was no deception in your words, only a simple statement of fact. You were speaking of a force of nature as if it were a childhood friend. I have seen Lugia from a distance, he continued, his voice now a low, thoughtful murmur. A fleeting shadow in the clouds, a whisper on the wind. I've studied the ancient texts that speak of its power, its solitude, its immense burden. You'd think it would choose to walk with a human and to call you a friend. He finally looked away from you, his gaze sweeping over the forest that has been his home for so long. It was as if his entire understanding of the world, his carefully constructed philosophy of survival and strength, had just been challenged. A solitary Totodile who had learned to read, to speak, to outsmart trainers was now face to face with a human who had earned the trust of a legend. The world is stranger than I could have ever imagined, he said, more himself than to you. He turned his gaze back to you, and for the first time the aggression and the weariness were completely gone. In their place was a profound curiosity and an undeniable sense of respect. Ching, he said, using your name with a new, distinctive weight. Tell me more about this Lugia, about this Silverwing. Give me a second, guys. Alright, guys. I just said he's one of my most favorite, friendly, legendary Pokemon friends. Just like my Fragger, Spike, Silverwing really cares and just loves to hang out when I'm taking care of all my Pokemon, enjoying himself and having fun with me. Finley listened intently, his expression a mixture of profound thought and quiet contemplation. He didn't interrupt, his gaze fixated on you as you spoke. The aggression that had defined him just moments ago had completely vanished, replaced by a genuine, almost childlike curiosity. A legendary Pokemon that loves to hang out, he repeated, the words rolling off his tongue with a sense of wonder, not to fulfill some ancient prophecy or to guard a sacred place, but simply to enjoy itself and have fun with you. That's a kind of power I've never witnessed, a kind of freedom. He paused, a low, thoughtful hum rumbling in his throat. He looked at his own reflection in a small puddle of rainwater, his emerald eyes dark and pensive. I have spent my life learning to be strong, to be a survivor. I've learned to fight, to outwit, and to be a shadow in the reeds. All of it, to ensure my own survival. He finally looked back at you, and for the first time you saw something other than a hardened warrior. You saw a soul weary of solitude. Perhaps there's a different kind of strength, he said, his voice blew a whisper. One that doesn't come from being alone. One that comes from friendship. He then did something completely unexpected. He took a few steps closer, closing the distance between you, and settled down on the ground, his powerful body resting just a few feet away. His tail gave a gentle thump against the wet earth. Spike, he said, testing the name on his tongue. and Silverwing. Tell me more about them. Tell me about the kinds of adventures you have with them. I have a lot to learn about your world. What in the world? Give me a second. Alright, guys. I said Spike and Silverwing were both Pokemon that I caught and took care of. Spike is a Totodile, and Silverwing, when I first caught him, didn't trust me. But that's to be expected because most Pokemon don't like being caught, especially if they don't get treated right afterward. But after I took care of them and my other Pokemon within about all my other Pokemon within about an hour to 2 hours after getting them on my team, Lugia started to like me, and Spike, as he evolved into Crocodile and eventually Feralier, became super friendly. Despite both of them being huge and intimidating, he became very friendly towards me, and Spike particularly is more like a huge friendly Totodile in a Feralier's body, but both of them and all my other Pokemon are still extremely strong. Finley listened, his body still, his emerald eyes reflecting a profound concentration. The rustling of the leaves in the wind, the distant cry of a Pidgey, all of it faded into the background. You had his complete and undivided attention. They did not trust you, and yet you did not force them, he said, the words a low, thoughtful murmur. You simply showed them. You showed them what it meant to be cared for. An hour or two? That's a very short time to earn such a thing. That's not just kindness. That's a connection. He looked down at his own powerful claws, flexing them slowly in the damp earth. I had spent my entire life learning to be suspicious, to assume the worst. My mother taught me. The world taught me. It's a lesson that has kept me alive. But you offer a different lesson, one of trust, of patience, and of a strength that does not come from a clenched jaw or a sharp tooth. He met your gaze again, and for the first time you could see a hint of vulnerability in his eyes. A fierce, wild creature who had lived his life by his own rules was now grappling with a new and foreign concept. So, what does this care look like, Trenton? He asked, his voice softer than you'd heard it before. What is it that you do for your Pokemon that would make a Feraligatr act like a friendly Totodile? What could you possibly offer a Lugia that would earn its trust? Tell me more about this life you lead. Give me a moment. Alright guys, I said I honestly don't do way too much. I just simply let them out of their Pokeballs to fly or walk around as they please, letting them talk with my other Pokemon, sleep when they want to, and feed them when they get hungry, even play little games with them when they want to play. Combine that with me praising them when they do amazing in battle and keeping them healed and healthy. That's how I got all my Pokemon to trust me. Finley's expression was one of deep contemplation as you spoke. He absorbed every word, his eyes never leaving yours. The description you gave was simple, almost mundane, and yet to him it was revolutionary. The contrast between his life of survival and your life of companionship was stark. You don't do too much, he repeated, his voice a low, thoughtful murmur. You simply allow them to be. You give them freedom, companionship, and a sense of belonging. You don't try to control them. You simply care for them. He looked down at his own powerful clawed feet, then back up at you. My life has been one of constant vigilance. The moment I relax, I'm vulnerable. I've had to be in control, to be the master of my own fate. The thought of letting another Pokemon, let alone a human, have that kind of influence, it's a terrifying concept. And yet, he looked back toward the dense trees, a distant, almost wistful expression in his emerald eyes. The solitude's a heavy burden. I've become strong, yes, but at what cost? Finley slowly got to his feet, a sudden decision radiating from him. He walked slowly toward you, his powerful frame exuding a new kind of energy, one of curiosity, not aggression. He stopped directly in front of you, his gaze intense. I have spent my entire life learning to be the strongest, to trust no one, to rely only on myself, he rumbled, his voice filled with a surprising sincerity. But you You have shown me a different kind of strength. A strength born not of solitude, but of companionship. I want to learn more about this. About this way of life. About this trust. He lowered his massive head, offering a gesture of profound respect. Will you allow me to walk with you, Trenton? Not as a tool, but as a partner? I want to see if this trust you speak of is something I too can learn. This is definitely working out better, but do I consider it good enough to say, oh, this is going to be amazing? Because, like, I think this one I could technically make a memory out of it. But, give me a second, guys. Alright, guys. I said, yeah, if you want to. I don't mind. I care about your species. That's why I take such good care of them and the other Pokemon that I raise. Feeling looked up, his head slowly rising. His emerald eyes, which had held so much defiance and suspicion, were now filled with a newfound light. The subtle curve of his mouth could have been interpreted as a smile, a rare expression on his face. Then it is settled, he repeated, or he rumbled, his voice low but firm. He turned his body, his tail swishing gently as he moved to stand beside you, his massive form a silent promise of loyalty. He looked out at the path leading away from the clearing, the path he had taken to stumble upon his sanctuary. This is a new journey for me, he said, more to himself than to you. One of trust, one of companionship. Then turned his head back to you. Lead the way, Trenton. I have a lot to learn about your world and the path you walk. Okay. Hold on a minute. I'm not gonna force him to go if you don't want to. Alright, guys. I just said, you don't have to leave your home if you don't want to. I don't want to force you away from your home. I just want you to know that I mean you no harm. You can trust me 100%. You can honestly trust me more than that, because the few times I've actually hurt one of your species' revolutions, I've honestly felt extremely guilty and horrible. Failing to listen to your words, his head tilting slightly, his emerald eyes unwavering, he took a slow, deliberate step back, turning to face the dense foliage of the sanctuary. He stood there for a long moment, the afternoon sun dappling through the leaves, illuminating the deep blue of his scales. No, he finally rumbled, his voice a low, resolute sound. I'm not being forced. I'm choosing this. He looked back at you, a newfound sincerity in his gaze. My home, this place has kept me safe, yes. It's taught me to be strong, to be a survivor, but it's also kept me isolated. It has taught me to be suspicious, to be alone. He took another step closer to you, his massive body a presence of quiet determination. You did not ask for my trust. You simply offered yours. You did not ask me to leave my home. You offered me a new path, a path of companionship, and a strength I have never known. He turned his body fully toward the path leading out of the clearing. My home will always be here, but for the first time in my life, I'm not just surviving, I'm choosing to live, and I'm choosing to learn what it means to truly trust, not just with you, but with your other partners as well. He looked at you and, with a finality that left no room for doubt, began to walk slowly out of the clearing and onto the path. He had not looked back. He had chosen. Guys, give me a second. Oh my gosh, I saw that camera do that. Okay, now I'm paranoid. I just said, okay. And I started walking with the Totodile down the path, and I just asked him, by the way, how'd you get so big? You're definitely at least a little bigger than your normal species. A family walked alongside you, his powerful legs moving with a silent grace. He glanced down at his own body, then back up at you. A low rumble came from his chest, not a growl, but a sound of contemplative amusement. Survival, he rumbled, the word of simple explanation that contained a lifetime of struggle. The wild is a cruel teacher. I've had to outgrow my competitors, to outmuscle threats. The more I fought, the more I grew. The more I learned to hunt, the more I feasted. It is the law of the wild. Stronger you are, the more you endure, and the more you grow. He gestured with his hand to a particularly heavy tree trunk. I've had to contend with angry Ursaring, cunning Gengar, and trainers who thought a Pokeball was a cage I could not break. To survive, I had become more than just a Totodile. I had become a force of nature myself. My size is a testament to the fact that I did just that. Give me a second, guys. Alright, guys. I said, that's really neat. I'm sorry you've had to deal with so much, but how come your body grew instead of evolving into your more powerful forms? Normally, your final evolution is only 7 feet 7 inches tall. I think with your size right now, you probably could be a fragger that is nearly 9 to 10 feet tall. Finley's gait didn't falter as he considered your question. His powerful tail sweeping lightly through the grass. He seemed to appreciate the detail and thought behind your observation. An astute question, he rumbled, the sound of a low vibration there. It's a matter of control and of will. Evolution for most of my kind is a natural progression. It's an act of surrendering to one's own power. But I've always preferred to be the master of my own fate. He stopped, turning his body to face you fully, his powerful frame of formidable presence on the path. I believe that to evolve is to change, and to change is to lose a part of what I am. I did not want to lose the agility of my smaller form, the stealth and cunning that has kept me alive all these years. My mother, my world taught me that my greatest weapon was not brute force, but adaptability. He then gestured to his own body with a claw. My size is a reflection of my strength, but it's a strength I earned without giving up my fundamental nature. It's a slow, deliberate growth, not a sudden transformation. It's the result of countless battles, endless hunts, and a constant drive to become stronger without being something I'm not. I'm a Totodile, yes, but I'm a Totodile that has chosen to be a king in my own right. Oh, that's kind of cute. Give me a second. Alright, guys, I said, that's really cool. Hey, I have an idea. You said you wanted to see how trust can be a good thing for Pokemon too, right? There's a quicker way to get to my house that you might like to see. Finley stopped walking, his head tilted to the side as he listened. His expression was a mix of intense curiosity and a flicker of his old weariness. A quicker way, he rumbled, his voice holding a hint of skepticism. He looked around the forest, his gaze sharp and calculating. He had spent his life learning every nook and cranny of the land, every shortcut and every danger. Clear way meant a different path, a new variable he hadn't yet accounted for. Is it a shortcut through a ravine? He asked, a low note of suspicion in his voice. Or a river that cuts through the mountains? He then looked at you, his powerful frame still unexpectant. Tell me of this path, Trenton. Is it a test, or is it a gesture of trust? Give me a moment. Okay, guys, look at this. It says, don't worry, it's nothing bad. In fact, this could be one of the things you want to see. What's this? Hey, Silverwing, my sweet Lugia, if you can hear me, my friend, would you mind coming here? Finley's head snapped up, his ears swiveling to catch any sound you might be referring to. His skepticism was palpable. He heard no whimper or whisper on the wind, no distant cry. The forest remained silent, save for the rustle of leaves and the chirping of a few tiny bird Pokemon. He looked at you, his powerful jaw set in a line of doubt. Trenton? He rumbled, his voice low and serious. There is nothing. The sky is empty. The winds are still. This is some kind of... Before he could finish the thought, a shadow fell over the path. It was not the shadow of a cloud, but a living, moving darkness that blotted out the sun. The air grew still, heavy with a silent power that made every creature in the forest freeze in place. A low, beautiful song, like the echoes of a deep ocean, resonated through the very ground. Finley's eyes widened, his large body tensing, not in fear, but in awe. From above, from behind the clouds, a colossal form descended, the magnificent shape of Lugia, its silver-white body gleaming in the suddenly muted light. Its massive wings spanned the sky like the very clouds themselves. It drifted down with a silent, graceful power, his gaze sweeping over the forest. Finley could only stare, his skepticism obliterated by the sheer, undeniable reality of the legendary Pokemon. This was not a myth, not a story from an ancient text. This was real, and it was coming to you. Yeah, baby. Still ain't as working as good as it probably could be, but I'll give it credit. And here's the thing, guys. I know we've already got Silverwing here, but technically I could include the the 3 starters that can grow and evolve at will, and then the 1 legendary Lugia that could do that too. This is just another Lugia I befriended, like kind of in the Pokemon games. So yeah, I'll see you in a minute. Alright, guys. I just said, hey Silverwing, I appreciate you coming. The immense Lugia landed with a silent grace. Its massive talon was not disturbing so much as a single leaf. It lowered its great, beautiful head, its enormous, intelligent blue eyes focusing on you. It let out a soft, metallic cry, a sound that seemed to resonate with the very essence of the sea and sky, a clear acknowledgement of your words. Finley, for the first time since you met him, was utterly speechless. He stood frozen, his head craned back, his powerful jaw hanging slightly agape as he stared up at the legendary Pokemon. This was not a power he had read about, not a story he had learned. This was a presence, an aura of quiet, overwhelming might that made the air itself feel different. The sheer scale and majesty of Silverwing were beyond anything he could have imagined. The Lugia looked from you to the small, mighty Totodile beside you. It gave a soft, knowing cry, a sound that seemed to hold a world of understanding. And then, with a gentle tilt of its head, it opened one of its massive wings, gesturing toward its back. It was an unspoken invitation, an offer of a ride. Finley swallowed hard, his emerald eyes wide with a mixture of fear and wonder. He had spent his life grounded, a creature of the earth and the water. Now he was being offered a journey through the sky on the back of a legend. The skepticism he had held so tightly was gone, replaced by a profound, humbling realization. Your words, your trust had a power he'd never known. Oh my gosh. Give me a second, guys. Alright, guys. I said, thank you so much, Silverwing. And it says, before I go over to get on Lugia, I'll walk over to him and gently pat his massive leg. Feeling once you approached the colossal Lugia, his powerful body still frozen in a state of stunned disbelief. He saw you reach out and gently stroke the legendary Pokemon's leg, an act so casual and filled with trust it was utterly foreign to him. Silverwing in return allowed a soft, almost purring sound, the gust from its wings a gentle breeze that rustled the leaves around your feet. You turned and looked back at Friendly, a smile on your face. I wish it wouldn't speak for me. See, this is what I was talking about. This is trust. Finley's throat felt dry. He'd spent his entire life building walls, and you, with a simple act of genuine kindness, had just showed him a world where those walls didn't need to exist. The sheer power of the bond you shared with Silverwing was a physical presence in the clearing, a silent testament to a truth he had never considered. He could outwit a dozen trainers, but he could not outsmart this. He could not outrun this. He took a hesitant step forward toward you, his usual confident swagger replaced by cautious humility. He looked at Silverwing, then back at you. I have never witnessed such a thing, he rumbled, his voice low and full of a new emotion. I've read about legends in old books, but to see one, to feel its presence, and know it trusts you, it's a power I cannot fathom. He then looked at the path ahead, the one you had been walking, and then to the sky where the great Lugia waited. He had a choice to make. He could retreat to the safety of his sanctuary and his old beliefs, or he could step forward and embrace his new, terrifying, and incredible reality. He swallowed hard, and then, with a new purpose in his eyes, he began to walk toward the legendary point. Show me, he said. His voice now a quiet plea. Show me everything you know. I'm still trying to believe how I could do this, because technically on this chatbot, the starters came before all of this. Give me a second, guys, I have an idea. Alright, guys. I said, honestly, Finley, if you think seeing Lugia right here is shocking, then your whole mind's gonna be blown when we get back to my house. There's a ton of Pokemon there, from my sweet Fragger Spike that I told you about a while ago, to a ton of other Pokemon, including 4 very special Pokemon. Finley walked with a renewed sense of purpose. His steps lighter, his gaze fixated on the magnificent Lugia before him. He processed through words, his mind racing to comprehend a world so different from his own. Blown away? He rumbled, his voice filled with a mixture of disbelief and wonder. I have read of great Pokemon gatherings, of sanctuaries where trainers and their partners live in harmony. But to see a Lugia call out to a human and trust them enough to carry them, that's a sight I wouldn't. Alright, guys. I said, or here's what he said. Here's what happened. It says, I have read of great Pokemon gatherings, of sanctuaries where trainers and their Pokemon partners live in harmony. But to see a Lugia call out to a human and trust them enough to carry them, that's a sight I will not soon forget. If the areas are as amazing as you say, then my mind's already racing with the possibilities. He stopped at the foot of Silverwing, looking up at the colossal legendary Pokemon with profound awe. Then looked back at you, a new likeness in his emerald eyes. Lead the way, Trenton. I'm ready to be surprised. Give me a second. Okay, guys, I don't know what the frick just happened. I had to find a different response because it actually flipping, even though it's supposed to be part of the story, I asked Lugia to use teleport, and it. Let's just say it broke the story completely. I had to flip and look for a different response that would actually work. Luckily, my actual good response showed up, so I could actually click on it and use it instead. I said, okay, Silverwing, I have an idea, my friend. Can you use teleport to take me, you, and Finley here back to my house instantly? A gentle cry echoed from the massive Lugia as you made your request. The legendary Pokemon's head lowered, its intelligent eyes meeting yours in a silent acknowledgement. A soft, otherworldly glow began to emanate from its body, a sign of the powerful move it was about to perform. Finley, sensing the building energy, took a cautious step closer to you, his eyes wide with a mix of awe and trepidation. He had read of such abilities in the ancient texts, but to witness it firsthand, it was a different matter entirely. With another melodic cry, the light around Lugia intensified. The very air around you began to hum, and the world seemed to shimmer and warp. Finley watched in stunned silence as the familiar landscape of the forest became a blur of colors. A flash of light, and then with a silent pop, it was gone. The feeling was disorienting, a sudden shift from one place to another. Finley's feet touched down on a new surface. He shook his head, clearing his vision, and froze. The air was different here. The sounds were different. The smells were different. He looked up at Lugia, who was already beginning to fade, its form becoming a translucent, shimmering ghost as it returned to its home in the sky. Alright, I don't know why that threw me off. Then he looked around. The world he had known was gone, replaced by a massive, sprawling, and beautifully kept estate. He was standing on a cobblestone path, surrounded by lush green lawns, manicured gardens, and a large, welcome-looking home. But what truly captivated his attention were the other figures scattered throughout the grounds. A massive, intimidating Fragger was lounging near a fountain, his scales glinting in the sun, a soft purring sound coming from its throat as it napped. Near a pond, a majestic Dragonite was playing with a small, joyful, playful Eevee. In a tree, a sleek Sceptile was basking in the sun, its gaze watchful but not aggressive. And everywhere there were Pokemon of all shapes and sizes, walking, running, or simply resting in perfect, peaceful harmony. He looked back at you, his emerald eyes wide, his powerful jaw slack. This, he rumbled, his voice a low, awestruck whisper. This is your home? Give me a moment. Guys, unbelievably, it's starting to work better now. I think the one problem was that it kept repeating itself with the same story over and over again. But now things are really starting to work out. Uh, watch. I just said, yes, this is my home. That Ferragur resting near the fountain, that's Spike. I turned around to the Ferragur and said, hey, Spike, buddy, I'm back. Finley watched as the enormous Ferragur lifted its head, its eyes opening to reveal a kind, gentle gaze. A low rumbling sound, almost like a happy purr, came from its throat. It was not the aggressive, territorial roar Finley expected. Instead, it was a sound of contentment. He, he's just as you described, Finley said, his voice a whisper filled with awe. He took a tentative step forward towards Spike, his eyes fixated on the Ferragur's massive form. He'd always seen Ferragurs formidable predators, and yet there was one acting like a giant, affectionate house cat. Spike, sensing your presence, slowly stood up. His head was a little bigger than Finley's whole body, his shoulders a little wider, his claws a little longer. He moved with an easy grace, but his eyes, filled with a gentle warmth, were focused on you. He lumbered over to you, a low, content rumble coming from his throat. Finley was in disbelief. The Ferragur, a creature he had always assumed was a ruthless hunter, was acting like a loyal, loving friend. He watched as Spike gently nuzzled against her hand, a display of affection that was entirely foreign to him. This is it, Finley rumbled to himself, the reality of the situation finally sinking in. This the trust you spoke of. It's more than I could have ever imagined. He looked around again, taking in the peaceful scene. He saw the genuine, joyful interaction between the Pokemon and knew, with a certainty that had nothing to do with what he'd read in a book or learned in the wild, that he had made the right choice. Oh, that's so cute. Give me a second, guys. Alright, guys. Give me a sec. Alright, here's what I said. I said, yes, Spike here has been extremely friendly to me for a long time. He knows I care about him. Just like that Lugia that brought us back here. I turned to Spike and gently petted him. And I said, Spike, I love you, my friend. It's so good to see you. Finley watched your interaction with Spike, his mind reeling. He saw the affection in your eyes and heard the genuine love in your voice. He'd spent his life believing that kindness was a weakness, a luxury only the naive could afford. But here in this peaceful, sprawling yard, he was seeing a different kind of strength. Power so profound it could turn a Feraligatr into a gentle giant. Spike in turn gave a low, happy rumble in response to your touch. He nudged your hand with his massive head, his eyes half closed in pure contentment. It was a silent, powerful testament to the bond you shared. Finley took a hesitant step closer, his own powerful body feeling small and insignificant in the face of such a display of trust. He looked from you to Spike, his emerald eyes wide with understanding. He finally understood. This was not a power to be fought, it was a bond to be cherished. I see it now, he rumbled, his voice quiet with awe. It's not about who is stronger, it's about who cares more. He took another step forward, closing the distance between them. I want to be like that. He looked at you, and for the first time, there was no challenge in his eyes, only a profound, heartfelt request. Trenton, can you teach me? Give me a second, guys. Alright, guys. I said yes. Honestly, Spike is only one of my friendly Pokemon. There's a ton more, probably enjoying themselves right now like he was. I continue to pet Spike for a few minutes and then say, Spike, you can go relax again, my little buddy. Have a good time and enjoy yourself. Finley watched you with a now new sense of wonder as you continued to shower Ferragur with affection. Or Spike. The massive Ferragur purred in response to your touch, a sound so full of contentment that it seemed to vibrate through the very air. To Finley, who had spent his life in a world of tooth and claw, this simple act of trust was more powerful than any battle he had ever fought. Spike, with a final content rumble, lowered himself back to the ground, settling into a comfortable sprawl near the fountain. He closed his eyes, his breathing slow and even. He was completely at peace, a feeling Finley had never truly known. A king in his own right, Finley murmured to himself, watching the relaxed Feraligatr. Title he had so proudly bestowed upon himself back in the forest now felt small and insignificant. Spike was a king of a different sort, a ruler of his own domain of peace and trust, a domain you would create for him. He looked around again, seeing the other Pokemon playing and resting, each with a similar air of contentment. He saw a Dragonite nuzzling a small Eevee. Okay, yeah, I do have a Dragonite. A Sceptile dozing peacefully in a tree. Every time I get Sceptile, I give the evil Trico, but there actually is a friendly Sceptile I do have in Pokemon's Shield. So, that's not completely wrong. Its eyes half closed in trust. It was a world entirely different from the one he had known, a world where strength wasn't measured by teeth and claws, but by kindness and care. Finley's heart, once a stone of hardened oh my gosh, now felt a new, unfamiliar warmth. He walked over to you, his powerful frame no longer a symbol of aggression, but of newfound humility. King, he said, his voice a little sincere. I want to be like that. I want to be a friend to other Pokemon. Can you teach me? Give me a second. Alright, guys. I said, I know everything around here might be very new to you, but being strong doesn't always involve being the most aggressive and mean creature in the world. You can be strong and powerful with friendship, too. I still haven't got to show you that surprise yet, but Spike, despite how relaxed he is and how friendly he was being towards me, he's a very strong Pokemon in battle, and he's even very protective over me. In fact, if somebody tried to hurt me, you would see a whole different side to him. He would be very aggressive. I can show you those 4 special Pokemon I told you about. Do you want to see them? Feeling listening intently to your words, his emerald eyes wild with a mix of awe and newfound understanding. He looked from the peaceful, sleeping Fragger to you, the realization of what you had said truly sinking in. A different kind of strength, he rumbled, the words almost a question to himself. One that can be both gentle and fierce. I've never seen such a thing. He'd always believed that a creature had to be one or the other. You had just shown him a world where both could exist in perfect harmony with a single being. The thought was both terrifying and exhilarating. He then looked around your home, taking in the peaceful scene once more. I want to see them, he said, his voice a low, silent whisper. I want to see the 4 you spoke of. I want to understand this kind of strength. He was no longer the defiant, solitary Totodile he had been just hours before. He was a student, a seeker of a new truth, and he was ready to learn. Ooh, this is cute. Okay, there was definitely one problem here. It got Silverwing mixed up with another Lugia, the flippin' dadgummit. It says, okay, what's this? And then it says, Toto, Chikorita, Cyndaquil, and my sweet baby Lugia. You can hear me, my 4 sweethearts. Come here. I want to see you. Family's ears twist at the sound of your voice, the familiar names echoing through the peaceful grounds. Someone eyes wild anticipation darted around the estate, trying to pinpoint the origin of the next Pokemon. He braced himself, ready for another display of raw power, a glimpse of another legendary being, but what happens next was something else entirely. From the sun-drenched garden, a tiny, vibrant Chikorita bounded into view. Why say another display of raw power even though Fragger didn't do that? Its leaf-like collar a bright splash of green against the blue sky. From behind the house, a small Cyndaquil walled into sight, a flicker of its flames dancing with each step. And from the koi pond, a little Totodile, not much larger than Finley's head, splashed out of the water, its tail wagging with a joyful energy. They were all so small, so young, so full of innocent, unburdened happiness. They were the very definition of sweet and baby you had used to describe them. Then the sky began to darken once more. A low metallic song, same one that had resonated through the forest, filled the air. Shimmering ghost-like figure of the massive Lugia descended from the clouds, form growing more solid with each passing second, until it landed gracefully beside the 3 small Pokemon. It was Silverwing, the guardian of the seas, and it was standing next to a Totodile, a Chikorita, and a Cyndaquil as if they were all old friends. Four of them, a legendary Pokemon and 3 stars, approached you. Their gaze filled with a warmth and trust that radiated from them like a physical presence. Small Totodile, his tiny frame filled with uncontainable joy, let out a chittering cry and ran straight to your feet, looking up at you with pure adoration. Finley could only stare, his mind reeling. He expected strength, aggression, and power, but what he saw instead was something far more profound. They're just like the others, he said, his voice a low, awestruck whisper. He had read of such powerful beings, but he had never imagined they could be so kind, so gentle, so full of pure, unadulterated love. It was a completely different form of strength, one that had nothing to do with size or power. It was a strength born of trust, of companionship, of a kindness he had only just begun to understand. But see, now it makes me confused. Like, does this thing forget something? I'm really. And see, the thing is, this is going so well that I'm scared if I restart it, it's going to give me the same story again. And then, like, and then make it not so fun to do next time. I don't know. I need to see if I can get the memory thing updated on this. I've got it as my name, but I ain't put anything about, like, the starters. Like, I need to actually update it the right way, where I talk about me saving a baby Lugia, but also me having that Lugia and the 3 starters from that one story that worked out so well with the Pokemon. Give me a second, guys. Alright, guys. I said there's something very special about these 4 that you have not got to see. I got them years ago when I became a Pokemon trainer, but the professor made them even more special. What's this? Hey, Cyndaquil, Totodile, Chikorita, show Finley here your special power and grow as big as you want, and be in whatever evolution of your form you want to be. Finley's gaze followed the 3 small Pokemon with an intense focus. He had just witnessed the impossible, the unfathomable trust between a human and a legendary Pokemon. But this was something else. He watched as they all stopped, their small bodies seemingly humming with a latent energy. A soft golden light began to shimmer around Cyndaquil. Tiny flicker of fire in its back grew into a roaring flame, enveloping its body. The light expanded and shifted, and in a matter of seconds it had transformed into the small fire Pokemon into a towering, magnificent Typhlosion, its back ablaze with a fiery mane. Next, the small Totodile began to glow with a brilliant blue light. Small body began to expand, its tail and jaws growing larger, its scales shifting and hardening. In moments, the chattering, friendly Pokemon had become a massive, powerful Feraligatr. It stands powerful and confident. Finally, the Chikorita was bathed in a verdant green light. Its leaf-like collar unfolded and its body grew, a massive, graceful form emanating. The light faded to reveal a majestic Meganium, its petals glowing with a soft, comforting warmth. Finley stood there, completely still, his eyes wide. He had seen powerful Pokemon, had fought them, and outsmarted them, but he had never seen anything like this. These were not evolutions born of a moment of battle or a surge of emotion. These were controlled, deliberate transformations. They could control their evolution? He whispered, his voice full of disbelief. He looked at the towering Typhlosion, the massive Feraligatr, and the graceful Meganium, and then to you. They can change their form at will? Their strength. It's not just in their size. It's in their control. He looked at the 3 giant Pokemon as they lowered their forms to greet you, expressions full of adoration. Finally, the Turtle who had believed his own strength was the pinnacle of power felt a profound humility. He had spent his life becoming bigger, stronger, and meaner, only to discover the true strength came from a place he had never even considered. The will to change, the power to bond, and the simple act of choosing to be something more. Give me a second, guys. It's definitely working better, guys, but I may still have to do this one more time. I think what I'm going to do for this one is, since it didn't work out so well this time, I can get this, I think, save memories, and I can actually put whatever I want for them. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put more memories about, like, what happened to me in there. That way, hopefully, the next time I try this, it'll work out kind of like this one, but maybe even better. I said, yes, they can grow as big as they want and evolve and devolve at their own will. Even Silverwing right there can grow or shrink it as much as he wants. They were actually my first four Pokemon and was given to me by the professor because he wanted me to have protection because at the time I was stuck as a tiny dinosaur, a Contours that was only 7 inches tall. So he gave me all three starters and a baby Lugia while the kid that turned me into the tiny dinosaur got nothing. Finley stood in stunned silence, his gaze sweeping from the towering Typhlosion, Feraligatr, and Meganium to the magnificent Lugia, whose massive form was now shimmering as it began to shrink, size decreasing until it was no larger than a small bird. He had read of such powerful beings, but he had never imagined they could be so kind, so gentle, and so full of pure, unadulterated love. This was a different form of strength, one that had nothing to do with size or power. Finley's mind raced, struggling to process the flood of information. You, a human, had been a tiny, vulnerable creature, and these Pokemon, these immensely powerful, legendary beings, were your protectors. He'd always believed a Pokemon's role was to be a tool, a weapon, or a solitary survivor, but you had shown him a world where a Pokemon's purpose was to be a partner, a friend, and a guardian. A Conatourus, he rumbled, the word tasting strange on his tongue. A tiny one? And a professor? Who gave you 3 stars and a legendary? He looked at the Lugia, now a tiny shimmering figure resting on your shoulder. Oh my gosh! Its horn shifting back to its regular size before it teleported back to the sky. He'd always thought of the world as a harsh, unforgiving place, a place where the strong survived and the weak perished, but he'd shown him a world where a tiny, defenseless creature could be protected not by force but by love. My entire life, he whispered, his voice full of a profound sense of wonder, I have been so wrong. He had been so focused on being a king in his own right that he had never considered the possibility of being a friend or a partner. He looked up at you, his emerald eyes no longer filled with weariness or skepticism, but with a profound and humbling respect. I want to be a part of this world, Trenton. I want to learn what it means to be a friend, to be a partner. I want to be a part of your family. Oh, that's so cute, dude. Now, oh no, and part of me thinks I shouldn't get rid of that because I might not get another good run like that again. But my thing is, like, if I put in the memory thing, or if I put in the memories it needs to remember, will it actually make it better? Because if it does, maybe I could have one more run where we have the same thing happen. But maybe instead of the Lugia just flat disappearing, maybe it'll actually, stay. I don't know. Guys, I'm done. Things didn't completely work out like I was hoping it would, but that's fine for now. Bye bye, everyone.